Hello, sixth graders. So today we're going to be working on dividing fractions. You will need to have this split screen because I'm going to be asking you to fill in some questions. So you're going to need to have this split screen. Remember, you can find this slideshow if you go to Google Classroom and then go to classwork under fractions. There'll be the video dividing fractions. So pause the video and then play it again when you found it. So the we will use reciprocals and multiplication to divide fractions. And then the I will write about how dividing fractions is related to multiplying fractions. Okay, so a reciprocal, I mentioned that in the we will. A reciprocal is just a fraction that's flipped. So for example, 3/4, the reciprocal of 3/4 would be 4/3 because 3 is our numerator, 4 is our denominator. So all we do is flip it and we make 4 our numerator and 3 our denominator. So let's find the reciprocal of the fractions below. For example, 2/9, to find the reciprocal, we just flip it. So it'd be 9/2. What about 1/8? Yeah, it'd be 8/1. Okay, here it gets kind of tricky when we have 5 and 27. So if you remember, we said that to make a whole number a fraction, you have to put what number on the bottom of it? A 1. Awesome. So you have 5/1. So then to make the reciprocal of that fraction, you would then flip it. And so the reciprocal of 5 would be 1/5 or 1/5. Same for 27. How do you make 27 a fraction? Put a 1 under it. Then to find the reciprocal of this, you're going to flip it. So you'd have 1/27. Remember, you can always pause the video and rewind it if you need to. All right, so now that we know how to find the reciprocal, let's go ahead and start talking about dividing fractions. So if you remember, to divide by a fraction, here's a tip. Keep, change, flip. So please remember, this says divide. We do not do this when we're multiplying by fraction, only when we divide. So here I have 6/7 divided by 2/7, okay? So remember, it says keep, change, flip. We're going to be keeping our first fraction exactly the same, change division to multiplication, and flip or get the reciprocal of our second fraction. So if we rewrite it, it would be 6/7, not divided by, but now times, and then 7/2 because we flipped it. And then we would just multiply like normal because it's a regular multiplication problem. Because 6 times 7 is 42, 7 times 2 is 14. And since we don't want an improper fraction as our final answer, we're going to divide. Top dog goes inside the house. So we have 42 divided by 14. And 14 goes into 42 3 times. 3 times 14 is 42. 42 minus 42 is 0. So our final answer is 3. So remember, if you have 0 as your remainder, you do not need to write a fraction. We're going to go back to what we used to do when we only wrote the top number. Remember, our top number is going to be our huge whole number always, no matter what. And sometimes you'll only have a whole number there. So we're going to go to the next slide and we're going to do some together. So here I have 9/10 divided by 2/5. So remember, to divide by a fraction, here's a tip. Keep, change, flip. We're going to keep our first fraction the same. So I'm keeping it 9/10 exactly the same. We're going to change division to multiplication. And then we're going to flip, so keep, change, flip, our second fraction. So instead of 2/5, it's going to be 5/2. And then we're just going to go ahead and divide. So 9 times 5 is 45. 10 times 2 is 20. And now since I have a bigger numerator than a denominator, I'm going to want to make it a mixed number or a whole number. So I'm going to divide and put the top dog inside the house. And put 20 on the outside. 20 cannot go into 4, but 20 can go into 45. How many times? 2 times, because 2 times 20 is 40. And then I have 5 as my remainder. So I'm going to do wagon wheel. Remember, my top number becomes my big whole number. My remainder is my numerator. And my divisor is my denominator. So if you look very carefully, our denominators did not change. But here I've counted an issue. I have 5/20 as my fraction, right? But 5, the factors of 5 are 1 and 5, and the factors of 20 are 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. They have a common factor of 5. So I need to actually simplify my fraction by dividing by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So my actual final answer is not 2 and 5/20. It's going to be 2 and 1/4 because I had to simplify that fraction that I had. So I want you to go ahead and you're going to try doing 1/2 divided by 2/5. So go ahead and pause the video and try doing 1/2 divided by 2/5. All right, so hopefully you were able to try out that problem. So we had 1/2 divided by 2/5. So I did keep, change, flip. I kept the first fraction the same. I changed division to multiplication, and I flipped my second fraction to find the reciprocal, which is 5/2. Then I multiplied. 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 2 is 4, and then I got my answer of 5/4. But I didn't want an improper fraction as my final answer, so I divided and I put the top dog inside the house, and I did 5 divided by 4. 4 goes into 5 one time, because 1 times 4 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. And then I did my wagon wheel to find my answer. Remember, your top number is going to be your huge whole number. So I have 1 and 1/4. And since 1 and 4 don't have any common factors besides 1, this is my final answer. So now that we're done doing this lesson, I want you to go ahead and try doing the exit ticket on your own. Try doing the exit ticket on your own.